Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Kylie Lyman. We're going to be discussing her amazing book, Uncovering Your Blueprint, Becoming Who God Created You to Be. Now, it's available for purchase through Amazon as well as barnesandnoble.com, pretty much all the regular online book resellers. But people, if you want to gather everything that Kylie has in store, well, do yourself a favor and head directly to her personal site. And that's wherebeautyinspired.com. There you'll find more information on Kylie herself, more information on this fantastic book, as well as find the hyperlink set up to take you to the purchasing pages. So one more time, that's wherebeautyinspired.com. And before we go any further, I want to take this opportunity and point out that Kylie was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by one of the best advertising firms in the business. And people, you already know, I'm talking about ReadersMagnet. So listen to me, for my writers out there, if you have gone through your process, you have spent countless hours, I'm talking about some sleepless nights here, creating your masterpiece. You've been just plugging away on that journey, and you finally have come to the end of the road. You've completed that masterpiece, although now you find yourself in a peculiar position, because, well, now you need help moving the book you just spent all this time creating. Well, if that's you, contact ReadersMagnet. They're one of the best in the business to do it, and people, this is exactly what they specialize in. So head on over to ReadersMagnet.com today and gather all of the ways that their fantastic team is going to help you do just that. And listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Kylie here on the line. Now, right there in the title, you're going to have an idea of what to expect once you pick up this book and you start to read it. Although, people, I'm telling you, this book is layered, all right? This book is nuanced, and there is so much happening here. Now, for a general categorization, all right, it's labeled as a spiritual self-help. But I got a question for you guys. For all my listening audience members listening in right now, my women in particular, have you ever been through the process where you open this magazine, you see this model on pretty much every single page, but she doesn't look like you? She doesn't have the same body type as you. And you have these conversations with those around you, and you realize that society has this perception of what makes women beautiful. But it doesn't fit your perception of yourself. What about my men out there? Have you ever been in a situation where, you want to be vulnerable? You want to be able to express yourself and really be able to articulate your emotions, although society says that you need to be masculine. Society says that if you show emotion, if you cry, if you show a vulnerability, that makes you less of a man. Well, listen, I got news for you, okay? We have all been through this. We all recognize the societal pressures that are applied to all of us, given our age, given our weight, given our economic state. I mean, people, take your pick. We all experience it. Well, this is a book for you. If you can relate to any of those notions, if you have a bunch of others that I haven't brought up, but you've also experienced, I'm telling you, Uncovering Your Blueprint is for you, okay? It's about, in Kylie's words, embracing God's grace to your imperfections, right? Utilizing and really embracing your imperfections, because at the end of the day, that's what makes you you. And I love that notion. Please understand, I get it. It's not as easy as that in the moment, right? But we all strive for that, to break out of these norms that don't fit us, that really paint us or are trying to paint us in a way that we do not resonate with. People, I'm telling you, this book is something that needs to be on your shelf because it's much larger than a literary creation. This is a lifestyle change. I mean, this is a movement. And at the end of the day, Kylie is the expert, right? It's her book. She's written it, and she's going to be able to articulate it all much better than I ever could. But listen, as I mentioned, if you can relate to anything that I've just stated, sit back and strap in, because this is going to be a fantastic discussion. And by the time we've concluded, you're going to run to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherebeautyinspired.com. You're going to purchase your copies because you understand this is a book that needs to be on your shelf. Kylie, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. How are you?
I am fantastic, Kylie, better than I deserve. And, first and foremost, just to add a little levity here, you know how often I have these shows and I ask everybody, of course, in the opening, how you doing? And nobody ever asks me how I'm doing, Kylie. So first and foremost, thank you for that. I'm doing great. And the interview is going to be spectacular solely because that's where we're starting. So I appreciate it. Joking aside, though, this really is a pleasure, okay? I think what you're doing here is special for so many reasons, some of which I already mentioned in my opening. But listen, girl, there is power in the words on those pages, and we are here for it, okay? So thank you for writing the book, and thank you even more for being a guest here with us to discuss it. Before we jump into those pages, though, Kylie, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, thanks. So, I went to college at the University of Vermont. I went for speech therapy, and I practiced that for a couple years, and I felt God leading me to do something differently. And so I took the leap of faith, and I got done that job and just really tried to pursue God and all that He had. And this is where I've ended up for this part of the journey is just simply writing in practical ways, but rooted in the Bible, so that it makes sense to everybody and helps us to better understand what God thinks of us.
Love that. Now, my next question, I want to go into inspiration next, but again, before we cover the book, because, you're talking about your background and really, for lack of a better term, to kind of paraphrase, you felt a call to action almost, it seems, right? Through God's guidance to create this narrative. Well, when it comes to your background, was writing a hobby of yours growing up, or where does that love for writing come from?
Yeah, I've always loved reading. Writing was always just more journaling. I did go for communication sciences and disorders. So communicating has always been a huge part of my life. But then putting it down on paper just seems so powerful. And it also really just helped me navigate my own journey. And so I guess that's where it all kind of came together. It just all the creativity came together in that way. Putting communication down on paper and then being able to share it with others really was the inspiration for it.
Beautiful. Well, sticking with inspiration, but now honing it into this book, what inspired you to create this narrative? Because this very well could have been a book that you wrote and kept on your personal shelf, or something you verbally told to those around you. You took it a step further, comprised this book, and put it out for the public. What inspired you to do that?
Yeah, I think that in writing it, I had so many different women come up to me as I would start to share my own journey and decided to be vulnerable about how I was feeling. And I just felt that so many women, God brought so many women into my life at that time and shared something so similar. And so I felt like if there was women coming up to me and sharing that, then I felt like it was something that I wanted others to experience also.
Mm-hmm. People, strap in. Without further ado, your book is called Uncovering Your Blueprint, Becoming Who God Created You to Be. Kylie, tell us a little bit more about your narrative.
Yeah, so I think it comes from rooted in Psalm 139, and it talks about that we all have, God created us, and we all are fearfully and wonderfully created. But I think that sometimes we can lose ourselves in believing that we have to be perfect or that we have to fit a certain mold. But I think that God has created us each so differently, and that when we can truly embrace our uniqueness, it sets us forth to bring in all of our calling, our spiritual gifts, and to be able to help people from a very authentic place. What I found is that for so long, it's almost like it's like perfectionism has kind of overcasted so many people, and it makes us feel like we can't let our hair down and share our true vulnerabilities anymore. And so my hope with this book was that it would give others the confidence to, one, embrace who they truly are, who God created them to be, and also, secondly, to be able to share your struggles authentically and develop those deeper connections and relationships.
Yeah. Kylie, I love what you're talking about here, right? And that connectivity is something that we can all relate to, something that we all resonate with. And I know that it may have been, or at least started off, as something primarily for women. And I can see that because, my wife and I have conversations like this all the time in terms of what is the societal norm and the pressures that are placed upon women. But as I mentioned in my opening, I think this is, it can be copied and pasted and manipulated to fit any individual. I don't care, gender, sex, it doesn't matter. A lot of the words that you're talking about, the wisdom to be found in the page, can be, if we read between the lines, can be manipulated to fit our individual circumstance. So my follow-up for you, Kylie, for anybody that's listening in, this book is categorized as a self-help, right? So there are tips in the book that are given to really help inspire your readers to make that positive change. Well, for anybody listening in right now that finds themselves stuck, they are just overwhelmed with the amount of pressures that are placed upon them. What are some words of wisdom that you can offer them about, where to start? How do they even start to shift that perception to create their own mold and not have to really, assimilate to what society says they should be or should do?
Yeah, I think my answer to that would be, who would you be if nobody was looking? Sometimes I think it's so easy to put on different molds based off of who's around us or who we're trying to impress, but I guess I would ask that person, who would you be if nobody was looking and it was just you and God? What are the desires in your heart? What dreams have you had in the past that are maybe lost? If you could just put those blindfolds up and just run towards that person that you are when nobody else is around, then I would say take a step in faith and act out towards that person.
Well, listen, Kylie, I love what you're saying. I guess the follow-up to it would be, how does one generate the confidence to initiate that run and that sprint towards being that person?
Yeah, I think it's just, I think that it becomes kind of captivating once you truly, when you step out, just, if you can take the time to figure out who you are, and then I think that the freedom that it comes with when you start to embrace who you are and you're in God's Word, even when, I mentioned Psalm 139, that we're fearfully and wonderfully created. When we can really just see how God sees us, then it allows us to take the first step confidently, knowing that someone sees us so wonderfully. Sometimes the world doesn't see us like that, but if we can just see ourselves how God sees us and the destiny and the places that He wants to take us, I think that gives us the confidence to just run forth for what He has called us to.
I love this. People, I'm telling you, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, WhereBeautyInspired.com are the places you got to go. Uncovering Your Blueprint, Becoming Who God Created You to Be is the title you have to pick up. And Kylie Lyman is the author you need to thank for bringing this to your table. Because listen, we've barely scratched the surface here so far today. And I already can see how monumental this book is and how beneficial it can be if we really take that initiative, right? And utilize this for the resource that it is. Kylie, my next question, and really something that I want to ask, because I given the day and age that we're in, people generally like things that are neatly titled, right? Are packed into a nice, neat box because it makes it easy to digest. It makes it easy to understand. Well, I think one thing that is a pitfall that tends to happen is then people can formulate assumptions for things, right? Now, your book, again, from doing the research, from having the conversations with you, this is a magnificent book. I look at it as something that leaps individual titles, right? It can really be applied to different groups and communities, so it doesn't fit inside of a border that way. But I do know that one thing that will happen is people, once they see specifically your subtitle, right? And they see that 3-letter word, God, right? Becoming who God created you to be. And listening to your discussion so far, you've mentioned God a number of times, and you've even quoted a particular scripture in the Bible. Well, I don't want to assume this next one. I do want to ask you, Kylie, would you say that this is a book created specifically for religious readers? Or is this a book that, regardless of religious background and what somebody believes in that instance, this is a book that can apply to everyone?
Yeah, I mean, I think it absolutely can apply to everyone. I think that anybody could pick up the book and discover who they are, find out who they are, let go of perfectionism, look into, not fitting into a mold, but being your unique, authentic self. Yeah, I think anybody could truly find bits and pieces of it. Do I think that the root, the foundation of it is certainly biblical? Yes, because that's where I find my identity and who He created me to be. But do I think that people could grasp this from different places? Absolutely, I do.
Love that. Switching gears here, Kylie, going into your writing background and your writing process a little bit. Any artist out there, whether they're a writer, a filmmaker, a singer, it doesn't really matter. Any artist is going to be able to relate to this next one. But similar to your book and what you're discussing, in terms of a particular image that is placed on us and how we then battle against that, but also maintaining the confidence, like I was saying and asking you about a few moments ago. Well, Kylie, for you, how do you handle self-doubt and the vulnerability that comes with creating your own narrative, in this instance, your book, and putting it out for the public, and then, of course, leaving yourself now susceptible to potential criticism?
Yeah, I've thought about that quite a bit since it's been published. I think that my desire and hope for freedom for other people, as I've experienced, is greater than the risk of criticism. I'm sure that it will come, but I guess in my heart, it's hard to see other people struggling. I know I've been there myself, and so as much as I do not want criticism or, open myself up to that, I guess I want to see other people set free more than I'm more afraid of criticism.
That was a wonderful way to answer that. Kylie, listen, we have discussed so much information here today. As we close out, is there anything that we haven't yet touched up on that you really want to make sure our listening audience is aware of?
I think just basically that there is another way to live. Like, I don't think that we have to be set anymore in this one, box or mold. And I think that I want, if there's anybody listening today that feels stuck or depressed or just doesn't feel themselves and believes that there's more to life, I just want to ensure you and encourage you that you have a wonderful plan set before you, and that it's just waiting for you to step into it, and there's freedom on the other side. I think just walking out your freedom, it's available if we're willing to take a leap of faith.
There you have it. There you have it. People, listen, what Kylie is talking about, as I mentioned, is inspiring. It's so informative. But at its core, it's something that we all can resonate with. It's something that we all battle. Again, it doesn't matter where you are on your path of life, whether you're a teenager, a young adult. Listen, this is something that we all deal with, right? We all have insecurities. We all have particular pressures that are placed upon us by either society at large or individuals in our inner circle. Breaking out of those molds, although it's not easy to do, it's liberating in being able to find your true self. I'm telling you, this book is the precipice of something magnificent. You know where you gotta go. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherebeautyinspired.com. Pick up your copies today and allow this to really be that diving board that's going to set you along a path that truly is going to help you move some mountains. right? I love this and what it's able to offer. Head on over there today, pick up your copies. You can thank me later. Kylie, this has been a true pleasure, an absolute delight. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you for having me.